Hi, this is data sufficiency worksheet topic Venn. We're going to discuss grid method, two circle Venn questions, and three circle Venn questions. Um, if you've not solved the worksheet, you might want to stop and solve the worksheet first and then come to the solutions video. This is only a explanation video. Yeah. For complete review, look for the channels in the description of this video. Yeah. All right. Let's begin. Okay. A sports club has 100 members, all of whom are enrolled in either football or tennis facilities. Find the number of members who are enrolled in both the facilities. Okay. So it's a basic question. Yeah. 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 Okay. So X is what we need to find out. Members enrolled for only tennis are exactly 30. So that and X, we cannot find the information. So A is out. And so D is out. We look at the second information. Members enrolled football but not tennis are exactly 40. So remember, only tennis is this, and only football is this. So when it says football but not tennis, it means football only. So that's 40. So with that information, and if we ignore this one, so that also doesn't give us the answer. But when we look at both of them, yeah, when we look at both of them, then we don't get the answer, do we? Yes, we do get the answer because it says out here, all of whom are enrolled in either football or tennis facilities, which means that this part outside the circle is zero. Yeah. All of whom are enrolled in either football or tennis means that all the 100 are part of tennis or football or both. So now we know that 100 is made up of 30, 40, and X. So X is 30. Yeah. So together C is the answer. Yeah. Okay. Question 2. House party has 40 guests. There are only two options for dinner, vegetarian or non-vegetarian. Find out how many guests did not have dinner. So this time we have this N we need to find out. That's for vegetarian, that's for non-vegetarian. Okay. Yeah. And there are 40 guests. So N is what we need to find out. 20 guests tried both options. That means 20 is in the middle. Yeah. It doesn't tell us anything about A or B, nothing. So A is out, D is out. Yeah. Now, guests who had non-vegetarian for dinner, yeah, were exactly 30% of those. So 30% is 0.3, 3 by 10, is exactly 30% of those who had vegetarian for dinner. So it's this. NV is 3 by 10V. Okay. So Um, it gives us a ratio in a way that non-vegetarian to vegetarian is 3:10, and that cannot be, you know, distributed from the 40 in the sense that 40 cannot be broken down into the ratio 3:10. Correct? Yeah, with 20 in the middle. All right. So if we ignore the 20 and then just look at the ratio, we don't have a number, right? So together also we cannot, I mean, with B alone we cannot solve the question. Together also we cannot solve the question because when we look at 20, yeah, and 3:10, we're not getting anything, right? So we can try a sample, like you can take into 9, no, into 7, no, into 6, no, into 4, no, into 3, no, because if you take into 3, you get 9 and 30, and that is, 9 and 30. So that's also not possible because 20 is in the middle. So, I mean, you know what? If this question is problematic because if 20 is in the middle, yeah, and yeah, so it's not wrong also, but yeah. See, the answer is that together also we cannot solve. Yeah, so E is the answer, but I'm just trying to, you know, plug in numbers and solve it. So if I take 3 and 3, so that will give me 30, so 10 out here, yeah, but 9 out here, so that's not making sense, right? Yeah. Guess who had non-vegetarian for dinner were exactly 30% of those who had vegetarian for dinner. So the entire vegetarian 30, yeah, if the entire vegetarian is 30, then the entire thing out here is, it's not making sense. But yeah, let's just say that there were 10 out here, so it's 30. So 30% of this is 9, but then we have 20 in the middle, right? So this question cannot be solved actually. This statement, B statement, is funny. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Yeah, I mean, if you take 1, if you just take it as 3 and 10, yeah, then also there's 20 in the middle. So um, if you take 10 twos are 20 and 3 twos are 6, right? So the whole thing should be 6, right? Guess who had non-vegetarian for dinner were exactly 30% of those who had vegetarian for dinner. So I think guest who had non-vegetarian for dinner, right? Uh, that would, in this situation, would mean only non-vegetarian. Then it probably makes sense. If you're not looking at the entire circle of non-vegetarian, and guest who had non-vegetarian for dinner were exactly 30% of those who had vegetarian for dinner. So maybe guest who had non-vegetarian only should be out here. So if we take that, yeah, if we take that, then perhaps we can work out 3 twos are 6, yeah, right, and 10 to the 20, but then it'll go beyond 40. So anyway, let's leave this question. Is the answer. Hmm. Um, just want to go back. So let's just take, if we take 3 and 10 also, right? If we take 3 and 10 also. So let's just take 10 and 3. So only then it works. 33 and he got 7, correct? But if you take 3 twos are 6 and 20, it doesn't work. This could be a good question had the word only been used. Yeah. So if it's only, then we do have an answer, but through trial and error, because the other numbers don't fit in, right? Like if you take 6, if you take 6, only if you're using a non-vegetarian only and vegetarian only in the ratio of 3 to 10. So if you take 3 twos are 6, 20 in the middle, yeah. Or let's just say that this is not there, and without that, if you take only 6 and then this would be 20, correct? It cannot be solved. So together, if we take 20 in the middle, then this goes beyond 40. So the only option could be 10 and 3. And with that, the n part, we can solve it because 33, so n could be 7. But then that only word is not used. So since the only word is not used, yeah, and if you look at the second statement, veg and non-veg, right? So the whole thing is, let's just say it is 21. So 30% of that is how much? 6.3. It doesn't work. So if you take 20, 30% of that is how much? 6. But then with B, we don't get an answer. Then we take both together, it becomes 46. So are there any other numbers that would fit in? So um, 30% of 10 is 3, correct? But we're looking at the whole thing, right? So 30% of 30 is 9. But then we have the whole thing then. If we are looking at the whole thing, then it cannot be solved, right? And these are factual statements. And if it's a factual statement, then the question is incorrect. So maybe the only part, guest who had non-vegetarian for dinner, correct? 20 guests tried both options. So guest who had non-vegetarian for dinner. So it should be non-vegetarian only for dinner. Then it could be solved. And then becomes a higher level question because it's a trial and error. Because only two numbers fit in, 3 and 10. All right. Yeah. So yeah, so taking both statements together also, you have to then try which numbers fit in. A very interesting fact out here. If you simply go with 30%, yeah, so you'll have to try and see which numbers fit in. Anyway, so a good question if it's only, and I believe I'll make the change out here, yeah, and I'll probably want to look at it as not E but as C then, yes. I'll put C as the answer because I'm using only and only out here. Okay. Right. Then it can be solved. Okay. So I'll make the changes in my worksheet when you access it. This is question number 2. Sorry. Hang on. Yeah. Let's move on. So just to quickly review this. So let's just consider this question is stating only. Okay. Hang on. Right. So if this question is stating only in the second statement, non-vegetarian only for dinner were exactly 30% of those who had vegetarian only for dinner. So in that case, obviously statement A on its own, B on its own is not solving it. So we are directly looking at both statements together. Now both statements together, we got 20 out here, and we got non-vegetarian is 30%. So that is 3 by 10 of vegetarian. So non-vegetarian to vegetarian is in the ratio of 3 is to 10, 6 is to 20, 9 is to 30 and all. So we know that the total is 40 already given to us. All right. So we have to find out how many did not have dinner. All right. So if we consider 3, 3 and 9, 3 and 10, then we have 33 and we got 7 as the answer. Any other numbers, like if we take 20 and 6, so if we take 20 and 6, then it goes beyond 40 within the circle and outside also. So therefore, this is a very technical question where you need to try trial and error would solve the question. So the only option available, the only option that fits, yeah, is this one. 10 and 3, 33 and 7 is the answer. Therefore, C is the answer. Okay. Yeah. Remember, A on its own doesn't work. B doesn't work. Together works. So C is the answer. And I'm going to update my worksheet with only. Anyway. Okay. Third one. So 1,000 studies conducted on type A virus. All right, so 1,000 is not the total. 1,000 is type A virus and 1,500 is type B virus. Okay. If exactly n studies were conducted on both types, so n is both types, how many studies were conducted in total? So total is what we need to find out. Okay. The number of studies conducted on both is a quarter. So on both is a quarter of the number conducted only on type A. So this n is equal to a quarter. Only type A is obviously 1,000 minus n, right? This region becomes 1,000 minus n. So we got 4n is equal to 1,000 minus n. So 5n is equal to 1,000. So n is equal to 200. So it's important that you are able to express the, you know, translate the wordings into an expression like this, right? This, if you don't get, then you don't get this answer. So once you get n as 200, then we know this is 800. And once that is 800, then we know this is 1,500. So this is 1,300. So the total is 2,300. Got it? Yeah? Okay. Right. Now let's look at the second statement. Okay. So hang on, I'll just redraw it out here. The total is what we need to find out. This is A, this is B, that's 1,000, that's 1,500. Okay. And N is what we need to, no, N is not given this time. Okay. So the number of studies conducted on type B virus, but not on type A, that is only B, is 1,000 less than the total. So this figure 1,500 minus n is total minus 1,000. Correct? Yeah, that's what we are getting. Number of studies conducted on type B virus, but not on type A. So only B is 1,500 minus n is 1,000 less than the total number of studies conducted on type A or type B. So total minus 1,000. So statement B. So A worked, correct? B, C is out. So if B works, then D is the answer. But out here, what we are getting is 2,500 minus n is equal to total, but we are not getting the total. And we don't know. Could be anything. So therefore D is out because B doesn't answer. A is the answer out here. Okay. Only A answers. Right. Hang on. Fourth question. From the diagram given below, find the number of students who selected mean plan A for their school meal plan. All right. So find the number of students who selected meal plan A for their school meal plan. All students had opted for at least one of the given meal plans. So there is nothing like all students are opted for at least one of the given meal plans. So n is 0, meaning the ones who are not taking any meal plans, they are 0. So everyone's taking a meal plan. Okay. So there are a total of 80 students who selected meal plan C. Correct. What we need to find out is from the diagram below, find the number of students who selected meal plan A. So that is, we have to find A, which is M plus R plus N plus 15. So we come to the MRN. So we got the answer. That's what we need. Okay. That's what we need. So 80 students who selected meal plan C for their school meal plan. So there are total 80 students selected meal plan C. So this is 80. Therefore, we know N is how much? N plus 29 plus 30. So N plus 59. N plus 59 is 80, right? If you look at this circle, N plus 15 plus 14 plus 30 is equal to 80. So N is equal to 80 minus 59 because this is 29, 30, 59. So N is 21. So we come to know N from the first statement, correct? Yeah. But then we can't find R and M because there's no other information shared with us, correct? So from the first statement, we come to know N is equal to 20. Now, from the given diagram, we know that M plus R plus N plus 15 plus 30 plus 14 plus 30. This is the total. Got it? Yeah. So that is M plus R plus N, and then 30 and 30, 60, 60 and 29 is 89. So that is the total. That's what we know, that M plus R plus N is. So N is 21. So we come to know 110. So M plus R plus 110 is the total. But yet we need to find M and R to get A. A as the answer, right? We don't have that. Okay, so A doesn't help. So D doesn't help. Now we look at statement B. The number of students who opted for meal plan A are 1000% of the number of students who opted for meal plan A and B, but not C. So number of students who opted for meal plan A, that is M plus R plus N plus 15. So right now we're only looking at statement B. So I'm not taking N as 21, which we found from A. So this is 1000%. Now remember, 1000% is 1000% is 10. 1000 over 100. So that's 10. So that's 10,000% of the number of students who opted for meal plan A and B, but not C. So A and B, not C, is R. So it's 10R. So second statement also doesn't give us anything, right? It doesn't give us anything. All right. So B is out. B is out. So now when we take both statements together, we get M plus R plus 110, which is total. Yeah. Right. And we get this part, M plus R plus 110. We get this as 21, right? When we take both together. So therefore, M plus R plus 21 and 15 is 36 is equal to 10R, correct? And that is basically your A. This is your A. Okay. That's your A. So A is also 10R. So then we get M plus 36 is equal to 9R. This is what we get. Yeah. We're yet not getting R and M. So there's, even when we take both statements together, we only know that this entire A is 10 times this R, which leaves M plus N plus 15 as 9R, right? and n is 21. So 21 and 15, right? 21 and 15, yeah, and m is 9r. So this we could just simply get it. If this whole thing is 10 times r, yeah, and if this is r, then these three together is 9r, and these three together is n is 21, so m plus 36 is 9r. But yet r we cannot find out. There's no information for r. So C cannot help us. E is the answer. Okay, right. Fifth one. 60 women at a particular conference decide to offer at least one of the following beverage through the day. So again, n is 0 because opted for at least one of them. So 60 women at a particular conference decide to opt for at least one of the following beverage through the day. So that means all the women had something. All right. Now from the diagram given below, find out the number of women who opted for coffee only. So we are looking at M. All right. M we need to find out. Okay. And from the diagram, we know that M plus R plus N plus 2 plus 12 plus 5 plus 14 is equal to 60, right? Remember, this is 60 women, right? The total within the circle should be 60. So M plus R plus N, and then plus 2 and 12, 14, 14 and 14, 28, 28 and 5, 33 is equal to 60. So M plus R plus N is equal to 60 minus 20, 33 is 27. So this is what we get from the question stem itself, okay? And we need to find M, okay? First statement. The number of women who opted for all three beverages, that is N, is one less than twice the number who opted for coffee and tea, but not mocha. So one less than twice R, okay? So this statement and this statement, okay? So we get M plus R plus N, which is 2R minus 1, is equal to 27. So we get M plus 3R is equal to 28. And we don't have the value of M because R is missing. So A doesn't answer, D is out. So we look at B statement. Okay, right. So B statement, the number of women who opted for coffee only, that is M, is two more than twice the number who opted for all three beverages. So two more than twice the number who opted for all three beverages. So M is 2n plus 2. So remember, this information we got from A, and so these two is also A. Now this is from the question stem. So again, if we substitute the value of M in here, we end up getting, yeah, 2n plus 2 for M, and then R plus N plus R plus N is equal to 27. So that gives us uh, 3n plus R. This is 2R. So it's equal to 25. So again, R and N, two things are missing. Okay, two things are missing. So if we take both together, now if we take both together, right? So remember, this is your first statement, this is your second statement. We take both together along with this one. So we have three equations A. So let me call them 1, 2, and 3. So we have 1, 2 from the statement A, and 3 from statement B, and 1 from the question stamp. So when we take all three together, yeah, we got M, we got N out here, and N if we substitute in here, then we got R for N already, R for M, and R inside. So it can be solved together, right? So C is the answer. So let me show you how it's done. Okay. So look at this. I will substitute 2 and 3 in 1. Okay. So 2n plus 2 is M plus R. I'll write down as it is. and plus n. N is 2r minus 1, which is equal to 27. Okay. Now, n is 2r minus 1. So I'm going to substitute for this one. So 2 times 2r minus 1 plus 2. Sorry, this is r. So this is this part, and plus 2 plus 3r is equal to 28. I'm taking minus 1 on the other side. Okay. I'm going to expand this further. So 4r minus 2 plus 2 plus 3r is equal to 28. Minus 2 plus 2 goes. So 4r and 3r is 7r is equal to 28. So r is 4. So we got r as 4. Okay. R as 4. Yeah. So we got r as 4. Substituting that, we get n as 7. So within the second expression, if we plug in r as 4, then we'll get 7 for n. So we got this one. Yeah. And then from the third expression, we got n as 7. So m is 14 plus 2, 16. So we finally got our answer. We had to find m. M is 16. So initially it looked like this also wouldn't answer, but together it does answer, but a lot of calculation involved. So yeah, 5 is C. 5 is C. C answers the question. 6. Reena bought apples, bananas, and carrots, right, for a class of 50 students. For a school picnic morning snack. 40%, 50%, 60% of the students had apples, carrots, and bananas. So see, apples, bananas, carrots, and apples, carrots, and bananas. So there's a discrepancy out here in the sense that it's not following the regular order of, you know, usually the questions follow. So you gotta be careful out here. They're playing with words. So 40% of 50 of the students. So there are 50 students, right? So 40% is how much? 20 apples, right? Then we have carrots is 50%. So this is 50% is carrots. So 50% of 50 is 25. And then 60% of 50 is 30 is bananas. So that information we have from the question stamp. Some students did not eat at all. How many of the students did not have the morning snack? So we have to find out n. N is how much? Okay. Right. 20% of the students had all three apples, bananas, and carrots. So 20% is 10. So from the statement A and the question stamp, we got this as 10, but yet it doesn't tell us anything about who did not have the morning snack. Okay. Yeah. Right. Right. So A doesn't answer. So D doesn't answer. Looking at B now, 16 students had exactly 2 food items for their morning snack. So we know that if we consider this to be X, Y, and P, so X plus Y plus P is equal to 16. Why? Because these are the numbers, X, Y, and P are the regions which are exactly 2. Like X is apples and bananas, but not carrots. So exactly 2. P is bananas and carrots, but not apples. Y is apples and carrots, but not bananas. So exactly 2 food items for their morning snack. Correct? So that, and if we ignore the 10 which is given from statement A, correct, we are not able to get to the answer even then. Okay, because the 10 part is missing, right? The 10 part is missing. Okay, right. So let's see if both together can answer. So B is out. right? Taking both together, we know that x plus y plus p is 16. We know that this all three is 10, correct? Yeah, right. And we know the total is 50. So the total minus n is A union B union C, meaning everything within the circles, right? And A union B union C is A plus B plus C minus um, only 2 and minus twice all 3. So A is 20, B is 20, 30, C is 25, only 2 is 10, no 16, and twice of all 3. Okay, so we know total minus n, which is equal to 50. No, not 50. Total is 50. Okay, so right. Okay, 50 minus n, so that's total minus n, is equal to this number 20 plus 30 plus 25, which is 75, minus only 2, that is 16, and minus twice all 3, 20. Oh, yeah. So now together we get the answer. Yeah, we get the n value, correct? So that is 50 minus n is equal to 75 minus 36. So 50 minus n is equal to 39. So n is 11. Perfect. Now over here, just be careful. When you have 50 minus n is equal to 36, right? You got to be careful out here because sometimes what happens is that when you're in a rush, yeah, and suppose if it is this and you incorrectly assume that n is 11, I'm sorry, n is 14, 39, sorry, 39. Yeah, so you incorrectly assume. So this is the actual expression, and clearly n is 11. We are getting the answer with C. The only point I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes you work out the expression incorrectly. You end up getting 15 plus n is equal to 39, and you incorrectly assume that n is 11, which is incorrect because out here n is becoming negative. Like you're getting negative n is equal to 11. You know what I mean? So that means something went wrong with the calculation. This is I'm trying to tell you that in case don't be in a rush to jump to an answer, all right, unless you're confident about your calculation, right? So just pay attention to these minor details. Anyway, so this is not the situation. This is a situation, and clearly together we get the answer. Okay, moving on. Question 7. How many of the company X's 200 employees were older than 60 years? So now we are jumping to, we completed 3 circles and 2 circles. Now we are jumping to the grid method questions. Okay, right. So we are moving on to grid questions. So what is grid method? Grid method is just another way to solve 2 circle questions. Okay. So in grid method, we need to draw 3 rows, 3 columns like that. Yeah, like a tic-tac-toe, and you got to categorize them correctly. Okay, so when you read the question, how many of the company X is 200 employees, so we know that 200 is a total, were older than 60 years of age and owned a mortgage free house. So we know the two categories are 60 years and mortgage. So do not simply take mortgage and 60 out here, that would be incorrect. So you take mortgage and no mortgage and older than 60 years of age. So older than 60 years of age, older than 60 years of age and owned a mortgage. All right. So we have less than 60. Yeah. And greater than 60. Okay. So one of them should be less than equal to or greater than equal to. We'll figure out from the question. So we have to find how many of the company X's 200 employees were older than 60 years of age and owned a mortgage-free house. Correct? So 120 employees were less than 60 years. So we have to basically find out this part, older than 60 years of age and owned a mortgage-free house. So 120 employees for statement A, 120 employees were less than 60 years old and owned a house on mortgage. So this is 120, correct? Using statement A, we're not able to get X. So A is out, D is out. Now, second statement. Total of 150 employees owned a house on mortgage. So remember to redraw it so that you don't get confused. Yeah, mortgage, no mortgage, lesser than 60, older than 60, 200 is a total. This is all the information from the question stem. This is what we need to find out. Older than 60 years of age and owned a mortgage-free house, so no mortgage. Okay. So second statement, total of 150 employees owned a house on mortgage. So this is your mortgage. Yeah. So total of 150 employees owned a house on mortgage. So that means this is 200. So that is 50. But yet X cannot be found out. Taking both statements together now. So I'll plug in the information out here. Yeah. This becomes 30. And yet we cannot find out X. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So now, all right. 120 employees were less than 60 years old and owned a house on mortgage. So I'll have to do a correction out here also. Less than equal to 60 would make more sense because older than 60 is what they're asking for, right? Yeah. So together also we're not getting the answer because we don't know this total or this total. Yeah. So B doesn't answer, C doesn't answer, E is the answer for question number 7. Yeah. Right. Moving on. Question 8. Okay. 300 sophomores. Yeah. So those who do not know sophomores, Google up. They are nothing but the second year of engineering or second year of a 4-year undergraduation program, right? So after your high school, you do your bachelor's degree. In bachelor's, you have either 3 years or 4 years, right? So this is sophomores is an American term. So 4 years, yeah. It's a bachelor's with 4 years, and the second year students are known as sophomores. So that's freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Like that it goes. Okay. So 300 sophomores, find out how many chose physics as their major but did not choose astrophysics. So now we know the two categories are physics and astrophysics, but then this is how you write it down. Yeah. Students who took physics and students who did not take physics total will come here. Students who took astrophysics and did not take astrophysics will come here. Okay. So the question is how many chose physics as their major but did not choose astrophysics. So this is what we need to find out. Yeah. Now, option A, statement A, 50% of sophomores who did not take astrophysics, all right, did not take physics. So this is, let's say, M, right? So 50% of the sophomores who did not take astrophysics. So 50% of M, right? They did not take physics, right? So 50% of the sophomores who did not take astrophysics. So 50%, if you're taking this as M, did not take physics. So this is your not A and not B column. So this is your 50% of M. In other words, half M. Okay. Yeah. So again, with statement A alone, we cannot get the answer for X, right? So A is out, D is out. Write down, draw the grid again, because we look at fresh set of eyes for statement 2. Yeah, this is 300. 200 sophomores chose astrophysics. So this is 200. So we know this is 100, but yet we cannot get X. X is what we need to find out. Now, if we take both statements together, we know this is 200 and we know M is 100. Yeah. If M is 100, then 50% of 100 is 50. So we know this category is 50. And if this is 100, then X is also 50. We get the answer when we take both together, right? So C is the answer. B didn't help us. A didn't help us. So, but A and B together, so that C does help us. Okay. So the answer is X is 50 because this is 100. 9. Okay. Out of sample of 100 county readers, find out maximum number of readers who prefer hard copies over soft copies of books. So we have a category hard copy and soft copy. Great question. So hard copy and no hard copy, soft copy and no soft copy. Okay. So out of a sample of 100 county readers. So this is what we have from a question stamp. Find out the maximum number of readers who prefer hard copies over soft copies of books. Right. So we need to find out this X and maximum X. Okay. Right. All right. 50 county readers did not like hard copies or soft copies of books. So this is 50 from statement A. Yeah. So that doesn't tell us anything. Right. That doesn't tell us anything. So A and D is out. Okay. Second statement. So again, draw the grid. Number of readers who prefer hard copies over soft copies. Number of readers who prefer hard copies over soft copies, that is X. Yeah. X is a quarter of the number that preferred both. So this is, let's say, M, a quarter that preferred both. So X is 1/4 of M. Not able to get to an answer because there are two variables. We have to find out the maximum possible number of this, right? Yeah. Okay. So B doesn't answer. So it's either C or E. Right. Now we take both information together. Right. So we know this is 50. Yeah. All right. So I think if I use the when, it would be clearer this time because this is hard copy, soft copy, N is 50, right? And the total is 100. So if if N is 50 and total is 100, then we know everything within the circle, yeah, should be 50. Correct. And we know from here that X is 1/4 of M. X is 1/4 of M. So this is M, right? X is 1/4 of M. So if everything within the circles, and we know that this is M, and X is, we need to find out this part. This is your X. So X is 1/4 M, correct? Right. And maximum number of readers who prefer hard copy. So we want a maximum X value. So the maximum X value we'll get when we take this region, let's call it Y as 0, right? If we take Y as 0, if we take this region as 0, then everything is out here is 50. X plus M becomes 50, right? That's the only way we'll get maximum, right? Maximum number of readers who prefer hard copies over soft copies, correct? So X plus M is 50, X is 1/4 M plus M is 50, correct? Right? So what we'll do is we need to find X, right? So we'll write down in terms of X. So therefore M is 4X from here. So X plus 4X is 50. That is when we are considering this region, only soft copies are 0. So 5X is 50. From here we get 5X as 50. So X is 10. So that is the maximum possible we can get. Yeah. And M is 4X. So 40 and 10. So this is the maximum we can get if we consider S as 0. Correct? Yeah. Hmm. Okay. So you can do trial and error. You can probably say, okay, let's take 4 out here. Then you get the whole thing as 46. If you take 6 out here, you get the whole thing as 44. Correct? And then 1/4. And then we have 4X and X, 5X. So we'll have to take it as 40 and 10. So if we take 10 out here, right? What I'm trying to say is that if we assumed, yeah, this to be 10, yeah, N is 50 outside, total is 100. So if you assume this as 10, then these two together should be 40. If these two together is 40, yeah, then 5X is 40, X is 8. Correct? 8 and 4X is 32. 4 8s are. So we are getting 8. So we can plug in numbers and we'll see that this is the best possible answer when we take S as 0. Instead of 10, when we take S as 0, we get the best possible answer. So together it does answer. Together it answers. Maximum possible number is 10. Okay, finally, last question. Mario bought candies flavored orange, strawberry, and mango on his birthday to treat his friends. So the three circle question. Out of total of 60 friends, so that is orange, strawberry, and which other flavor was there? Mango. Okay. Out of total of 60 friends, if 10 ate candies of each flavor, so that is your 10, and 20 eat candies with exactly two of the flavors. So let's call them A, B, and C, right? So A, B, and C, A plus B plus C is exactly 2 is 20, right? All three is 10. Then find out how many of his friends ate candies with exactly one flavor. So this only part, only one is this. So this is exactly one, meaning those who had only orange but not strawberry and mango, only strawberry but not orange and mango, only mango but not orange and strawberry. That is exactly one. So that is what we need to find out. So five friends did not eat any candy. So that's a crucial information. See, if that five was not there, then we can say, okay, um, all 60 are within the circles, and we would have said, okay, then the ones exactly one would be 60 minus a plus b plus c, which is 20, and minus 10. And we would have said 30 is the answer. But then that leaves us the, you know, argument that what if there are people who are outside the circle, people who did not have any candies? Yeah, his friends who did not have any candies. So that is cleared using statement A. In statement A, they are saying that five friends did not eat any candy. So when five friends did not eat any candy, n is 5. So we know everything within the circles is not 60 but 55. And then when we subtract 20 and 10 from 55, we end up getting the correct answer, which is 25. So we know that this exactly one part is 25, right? And that is only through the circles. So this you can, if you want, you can call it O plus S plus M. So you can probably say, I'll just use this as X O plus, I don't want to confuse you guys, so I'll just take it as M, R, and N. Okay, so M plus R. So first we take the orange part. So A, M plus A plus 10 plus C plus R plus B plus N. This whole thing is 55. Understood? This whole thing is 55. Yeah, because all the 60 are not within the circles, 55 within circles. Now from here, A, C, and B, that we know is 20. So M plus 10 plus R plus N, yeah, plus 20, ABC 20 is equal to 55. Yeah. Now, what is M plus R plus N? That is the exactly one part. So we are taking this as M plus R plus N. Yeah. And that's what we need to find out. So M plus R plus N is equal to 55 minus 30. And that is 25. So we got 25 as the answer. I was just explaining this one calculation by using variables. So A answers, B, C, and E is out. So it's either D or A. Okay. Second statement, the number of friends who ate candies with exactly one of the flavors, that is M plus R plus N, is 5 times the number who did not eat any candies. So 5 times, my God. So 5 times, I think this time, I'll just use a different variable. I'll use it as P. Okay. P we don't have. So let this be P is 5 times P. Okay. Number of friends who ate candies with exactly one of the flavors is 5 times the number who did not eat any candies. So 5 times P. And we don't know the P value from statement B, correct? But we do know that A plus B plus C is 20 from the question stem. We do know that this is 10, right? So exactly one, this M plus R plus N, yeah, exactly one, we can write it down as M plus R plus N. We can write it down as 60 minus of P, correct? No, sorry. M plus R plus N plus the all three region plus A plus B plus C region, that is 20, is equal to 60 minus P, correct? Yeah. Remember, we are only working with statement 2 and the question stem, correct? And what we know is M plus R plus N is what? 5P, right? Yeah. So therefore, I'm just working out this whole thing. Yeah. m plus r plus n. In place of this, I'll put in 5p plus 30 for 10 and 20 is equal to 60 minus p, right? So we get 6p is equal to 30. So we get p is equal to 5. So from the second statement also, we got the information 5, which was given directly in the first statement. So once we know p is 5, then we know that m plus r plus n, which is exactly one which we need to find out, is 5 5 are 25. P is 5, so 5 5 are 25. So each alone answers. So A goes because statement 2 also answers, right? So D is the answer. So last one is D, each alone answers. So that's it, guys. I hope, I know I am quite, you know, messy with my working, but I hope you understood. Thanks.